Hello beautiful souls, welcome to my channel. My name is Aura and today we are going to talk about the higher self, which is a highly and widely discussed theme. But what I want to do in this video is to simplify this concept for you. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. The higher self is usually considered to be an aspect of ourself which is accessed only through hard work, diligence, discipline, meditation, focus, and only the masters, monks, and highly spiritual beings truly manage to access this part of themselves and remain connected. What I would like to remind you of today is that this is no longer the case. And it has actually never been the case. Humanity has lived in a state of survival for millennia, a state of judgment, fear, division, separation, doubt, insecurity, living by the law of cause and effect, thinking that this is just what life is, pure suffering, and nobody has any power over it. But this type of mentality has been instilled within humanity by the systems that have governed it over the past thousands of years. We had kings and churches to rule us, to drag us into war, to tell us what to do and how to live our lives. And humanity simply followed because we always thought that we had no choice. And now that we are given a choice, or at least they say we are, we go and vote and we hope for our politicians to change our reality, to change the state of our being. But this is not how things work. Humanity has been living in an inverted reality for the past thousands of years. Everything we have been taught and told has been upside down and inside out. We were taught that we are weak, puny, worthless, so full of sin that we can't even talk to God. But we need someone else to talk to God for us. And we need to repent and be forgiven for our sins. What type of life is this? Constantly living in guilt, in worry, in shame. And then we wonder why we are unhappy. We wonder why we cannot create the lives that we want. Why we have war and why people live in suffering. What I'm here to remind you of today is something that our ancestors knew. Our ancestors from thousands of years ago knew. And that is that you are your higher self right here, right now. You are not just your higher self. You are God. You are a fractal of God. Being created in the image of God means that you can do absolutely everything that God can do. It means that you are God incarnate. We keep being reminded of the fact that we are creatures made up of a mind, body, and soul. And even though we keep hearing this over and over again, or we can even repeat it to ourselves over and over again, this construct of ours is nothing but empty words. It is not something that most people apply within their everyday lives. What most people have become and are is just a mind that is submerged in suffering, in self-loathing, self-deprecation. And the only moments that we remember that we have a body are the moments in which we are unhappy about it, when our bodies are in crisis. Most people are unaware that they are breathing and have no idea how their body functions, how the things that we ingest in our everyday life affect our body. And not just food, but the media, the music, the environment around us, the people around us, the thoughts that we bring into our body, how that is affecting our immune system, our cells, our nervous system, everything that we are made up of. And almost nobody ever thinks about the fact that we also have a soul. And what is the soul? That is the higher self. That is your true self. That is your highest expression, your true essence. And that is your intuition. Your soul is always present. It's always telling you what is good for you. It is your intuition, that voice that you hear in the morning. So many of us wake up in the morning and we know today I'm going to do this. And usually we have a fruitful plan for our day. But as we get up and we start living our day, this heavy, dense, programmed, suffering mind begins to take over our day, take over our choices, our thoughts, our emotions. And the problem is not the fact that our mind is taking over, as our mind is simply doing its duty of being 1/3 of the whole that we are. The problem is the conditioning that it carries, because it is through this conditioning that we then create our reality, and our thoughts create the protein within our body and the reality that surrounds us. Because again, we are God. And now the way to bring your higher self forth, the way to be in contact and more connected to your higher essence, to your highest self, is by following your joy, by doing less of what you think you have to do and doing more of what you know you need to do in order to fuel your passion, to fuel your joy, to fuel your body and the creation of the reality that you came here to live. Every single one of us, with no exception, has one main mission, and that is to live according to your joy, to live according to your passion, to live your life the way you always intended and dreamt of living it. So many people have jobs they don't want to have, even extremely high-paying jobs, because they think they must have them in order to live up to someone else's expectations. I know people who love cleaning, who light up when they get to clean up a space, even if it's someone else's space, but they would never choose that type of job because it's not prestigious according to some standards of society. Just imagine a world where everybody would do what they truly love to do, where everybody would work with their passion. There are people who like cleaning up, who like fixing things, who like creating things. And not just like doing these things, but they literally thrive through doing these things. But they choose not to. So ask yourself, what is it that you are choosing not to do in your everyday life? What activities and even careers are you avoiding in order to live up to someone else's expectations? Or because there are other things that you must and are expected to tend to instead of your own needs? Because within those needs, within that passion, is where the higher self lies. The higher self is not found only when sitting in meditation with your eyes closed. The higher self is accessed through drawing, painting, taking a walk, creating music or singing, playing an instrument, reading a book, writing a book, poetry, even washing dishes and vacuuming, playing all types of different sports, in fixing things, in having a life purpose. Your higher self is not something that is separate from you. Your higher self is you. It is you living your life purpose. It is you knowing your life purpose and you accepting your life purpose. None of us were born into this world to conform to a system that is broken, that is dysfunctional, that breeds hate, segregation, and separation. Because none of us are this. Every single one of us at birth, or actually in the moment of conception, is nothing but pure unconditional love. It is in the womb that we begin to become conditioned, affected by the emotions of our parents, by the world that they live in, by the DNA that is carrying emotional information from our entire ancestry that begins to unfold within our organism. But in the moment of conception, we are pure unconditional love and unconditional acceptance. And in the moment of birth, we are still that, because as babies and as young kids, toddlers, we are simple observers. We don't judge. We observe and we absorb. And if we encounter any type of trauma, as babies we begin to disassociate, meaning that we begin to separate from ourselves, because as babies we don't know how to, and even children, we don't know how to cope with this type of traumas. We don't have the necessary tools to navigate this human experience. And so we begin to disconnect from ourselves in order to be able to cope with the world around us. And the traumas that we are experiencing only because we come into a world full of adults and beings that never learned how to heal, how to become whole again, as they themselves have disconnected and fragmented themselves with every single traumatic event that they have experienced in their own lives. And as they project their own traumas and pain upon the newborn baby and child, as children, we know no other ways than to do the same, to become fragmented, which is why our life mission is to gather all these fragments back into one whole being. And again, the way to do that is simple. That is by following our passion. We believe that is not simple because that means to go into the uncomfortable, to no longer conform to a system that is dysfunctional, but to choose to walk your own path. The path of whatever it is that sparks your joy, that lights up that fire within you. You are not and have never been disconnected from your higher self, because that is as to say that you are disconnected from your breath. But it's just like we don't think about the fact that we are breathing, the same way we choose to ignore our intuition, our joy, our higher self, our deepest core needs. Some of the steps that you can take in your everyday life are to simply pay attention to the smallest of things. Pay attention to the food when you're eating, for instance. Does the food you are consuming create any type of imbalance in your body? Does it temporarily make you feel good while making you feel sluggish and tired in the long run? Are you feeling guilty when you're eating? Or are you feeling happy? Is food something that brings you long-term joy? Or is it just another pain? And do the same with every single little thing in your life, everything you're consuming, whether it's media, in any form that it may come, social media, newspapers, magazines, games you're playing. Are they bringing you joy, each and every single one of them, in the long run? Or is it just temporary joy followed by guilt and more pain, or headaches, or sluggishness? And as you begin to observe all these parts of your everyday life, begin to make small changes. Of course, you can go all in, but in order to create a strong foundation, it is very important to take baby steps. So what is it that you can do in your everyday life to bring more joy, more passion, more freedom into your human experience? And the more you begin to prioritize your joy, your passion, your freedom, your needs, the more and more you are integrated with your higher self, with your soul, the more whole you become. And it is not absolutely necessary to dissect every single traumatic thing that has happened in your life, to relive it, to dive into it again and again and again. But instead, it's enough with a shift of perception. It's enough with a shift of intention. Just decide that from now on, you want to live as your true self. And ask yourself, what would my true self do in this moment? What would my higher self do in this situation? And if you don't know the answer to that, the simplest question to ask is, what would love do? Because again, you are love, and everything that exists is love. It's just that we have forgotten that, as we have been thrown within these dark ages of forgetfulness. But now it is time to resurface again. And it is easier than we would have ever imagined. And again, the funny part and the upside down inverted part of being a human is that we think that things need to be hard in order to make sense and in order to be true and real. But the reality is that the most beautiful things in life are simple. Freedom is simple. Joy is simple. Love is simple. We just have to allow it to be. So allow yourself to be your highest expression. I bid you a most wonderful moment of the infinite now. Take care of yourself. Bye.